Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Totally Legit and I'm a bit of a troll. So during my travels on YouTube, I've come across this wonderful channel that is absolutely filled to the brim with the stupidest shit you will ever find anywhere on YouTube. This channel called Shoal Stoppers is absolutely full of the biggest amount of horseshit you can find on the internet. I mean, there's shit like mind control and cell phone towers, flat earth. I mean, this guy is promoting every stupid thing ever said on his fucking channel. And the best part is the majority of the content on this channel isn't his own. He doesn't create his own stuff. He literally takes other people's work and then just uploads it and monetizes it. To demonstrate the kind of people that actually come to this channel, I brought up this plagiarism issue and they said, no, it's his responsibility to plagiarize like this because he's a broadcaster. But I don't know of any other broadcaster that doesn't either create their own content or doesn't pay for the content that they air. I mean, that's just standard practice. And isn't Sargon getting sued for exactly this thing? Anyhow, moving swiftly along, I'm going to be looking at a video which he claims he made himself, which I'm not 100% sure because, let's face it, the guy's channel, it doesn't lend itself to believing that he actually created anything of his own. Now, in this video, he's going to be giving us a basic physics lesson, and in the same vein, try to debunk the whole pancake theory and pile driver theory with regards to the Twin Towers. He starts off this video with a fucking long intro, which I cut out mostly because all he's trying to do is set up why his experiments are more valid than the computer models and the maths and everything else that has been compiled by actual scientists regarding the Twin Towers collapse. As a standard, the link to the original video is in the description below, so you guys can go and have a look for yourself and laugh. Just to demonstrate how bad his intro is and his whole setup is, I'm going to play you one little snippet of it, and you can see how retarded this guy's logic really is.
And very small changes in the input parameters of computer models can have very different results. So any theory or simulation must be compared to experiment, which is central to the scientific method. Richard Feynman taught this.
If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong.
Right, Mr. Shoal Stoppers. You do know that Richard Feynman lived in a period where there were no computer models because there were no real computers that can actually simulate things. You do understand this, right?
Well, we know what computer models can be used for, but that doesn't mean they're accurate.
There's a very good reason why computer models are accurate. You see, there's this thing called due diligence. I know this is a foreign concept to you, but the thing is, scientists and mathematicians are constantly checking and double checking their work to make sure that everything is correct so that they can get accurate data to make accurate statements.
There are two fundamental parameters of structural design. The first, of course, is strength. Obviously, each component must be able to hold the dead load plus the live load plus a significant factor of safety.
You leave a lot out with regards to strength. Now, strength can be attained in two ways. The first way is through elasticity. The more something can bend, the stronger it is. For instance, you can look at a commercial jet's wings, which can bend 70 degrees before breaking. This makes it actually one of the strongest parts of a commercial jet. The second way is through rigidity. Now, the big downside to rigidity is that you require very dense materials to achieve the required strength. Now, this means that you are building with materials that are heavy. Buildings use rigidity in order to create strength because nobody wants a bending building. Now, with that explained, you may carry on.
And the second is what's called serviceability. The structure must be able to support all the loads without excessive deflection. For example, the building can't sway in the wind or have bouncy floors, even though it may be perfectly strong. Building codes have an allowable deflection, and for the towers, it's the beam length divided by 360, or L over 360. Ideally, any experimental model should meet these two basic requirements.
And there's also the relative weight that goes with strength, the support structures in place, the material used, and, various other variables. It's quite more complicated than only two variables. You do understand this, right?
The pancake theory, where gravity drives both the down and out motions, was promoted by FEMA and the American Society of Civil Engineers. PBS showed us a computer model demonstrating how the floors will continually fall down. But is that right? To test this, I used some cement-type planks and a solid block of steel that weighed about 20 pounds.
Yes, and these things are quite dissimilar to the actual construction materials used in the building. You're not actually going to take any of that shit into account, are you?
I built a tall support structure so I could test the theory, hopefully confirming the PBS model.
I didn't think so. So you built a shelf. Really a shelf. This represents this. I mean, you can see the bloody difference right there, can't you? Your floors are supported on the sides. In the actual World Trade Center, the floors are supported from the central support structure in the bloody middle. You do understand, physical models need to be just as accurate to the original building as computer models, or else you have a flawed experiment. I mean, basic physics. I mean, honestly, how in the hell are you going to simulate the support structures giving away catastrophically as in the computer model that you're trying to debunk? So you're not even gonna fucking try to! Your big simulation of the catastrophic failure of the support structures is that you drop a weight in the center of your shelf. Are you really this fucking stupid?
Dropping the steel block first on the floors that met code deflection yielded a very different result.
No shit, Sherlock. Of course it would yield a bloody different result. God, this only simulates what would happen if you drop a massive boulder from the top of the building onto the floors. And the best part, dude, it couldn't even be the same building because, as I've already said, the support structures in the World Trade Center was in the middle, not on the sides. I mean, how is something completely different translated in your head to mean exactly the same? God! Okay, I think I'm going to compose myself now properly. Now, I think this is enough of the stupidity. I think I can just debunk this now and then we can fucking move on. Firstly, you accounted for only 2 parameters. The computer model accounted for thousands, if not millions of parameters. Secondly, where the computer model clearly demonstrates the central support column with the floors being supported in the middle, your support structure is on the sides and you didn't factor in the relative strength of the support relative to the weight of the floors. Third, the computer model shows the result of a catastrophic failure of the support structure holding the floors up. You dropped a weight on the floors itself. These two things are not the same. All your weight did was break the floors, which is something that the pancake model does not incorporate in any way. You do understand that different isn't synonymous to the same. They are quite opposite, you know. And with this said, I declare your experiment
Wrong.
A mathematical paper explained that the upper lighter part of the structure crushed the larger, stronger, and lower part all the way down to the ground, and then the smaller section crushed itself back up. Like the pancake theory, the pile driver theory relies on gravity for all the motions observed, and hence is another down and out theory. But is this possible? Using the same cement planks, I made some small floors that could be reused over and over. I had to build a steel guide rail system, otherwise the top section would continuously fall over.
Oh, God, dude. In your first experiment, you only accounted for 2 variables. And now you add a third in the form of a steel guide rail system. God, that's so clever. Make it even more different than the actual World Trade Center. If only more people would logic like you, it would make making money so much easier.
I decided to use some weak plastic pizza cover supports as my columns. Dropping about 15% of the floor system on the lower structure always demonstrated a deceleration.
Okay, for somebody who's trying to give a basic physics lesson here, you show a massive lack of understanding of basic physics. Your weak pizza box lid supports are actually really stupid to use here. With the weight being distributed across all of them on each floor, their actual relative strength is quite high. Also, this was not the support system used in the bloody Twin Towers. But at this point, I must assume that different really means the same to you.
So I decided to make an unrealistic model where the supports were turned sideways and even weaker. The deflection was excessive, and just like the 9/11 Commission, they were set up to fail. Finally, it looked like I was starting to get the motions observed. But when we slow the action down, we can still see that the upper floors always decelerate.
Dude, let me explain this to you. Firstly, the support system you used is made of highly elastic plastic. This absorbs part of the force. This type of support system was not used in the actual World Trade Center. They used a rigid support system, where you used an elastic support system. Secondly, and this is where you clearly show you have no fucking clue on how to do a bloody experiment. You remember that variable that you introduced? The steel guide rail with the holes drilled through the floors? Well, look at the video. That new variable that you added is a massive cause of deceleration. Look at your video. Dude, this is why you are bad at experiments. This is why only accounting for 2 variables and then adding another one that isn't present in the original building is fucking stupid. And with that said, I can only declare this experiment
Wrong.
But in order to give benefit to the pile driver theory, I wanted to make the weakest walls possible, even if it didn't meet deflection codes. So I used paper and matchsticks for my walls.
Dude, you do not learn, do you? You are now using a support system, again, that is on the outside of the building and not in the middle. You are also using a material that does not share the same characteristics of the building materials used in the actual construction. Paper has elasticity. Different does not mean the same. God damn it. I feel like I'm repeating myself here.
But since the towers were burning, I set my model on fire in the hope of replicating the motions observed with them. Unlike steel, my paper walls burned until they could no longer support the dead loads, and then began to accelerate, but soon that downward motion was arrested and then stopped.
Now you are setting fire to the load-bearing walls that have no relevance to the actual support system used. What the actual fuck? This is not mentioned anywhere in the pile driver theory. Dude, you are taking some real artistic leniency here. This experiment is just...
Wrong.
Okay, so I assume this is now the part of the video where you're going to tell us what you think happened. And based on your understanding of basic physics and what constitutes a good experiment, I don't know what to say. Let's see what you've got.
Placing a firecracker inside the paper wall, I stacked my model floors, and even though it crushed the paper exceeding deflection criteria, it still supported the floors. In each test, the horizontal motion was first, followed by the downward motions, out and down.
Okay, so this is the government did it theory. Okay, Einstein.
Notice that as soon as the walls are blown, the top uniformly accelerates down, just like the towers. And when there's a delay, the top's downward motion stops. It can't continue the downward motion until the walls blow. Out and down. Out and down. And out and down.
Okay, I see where your logic failed you here. You see, the walls of the Twin Towers were there to enclose the structure and protect the occupants of the building from the elements. They were not load-bearing structures. The support system used by the Twin Towers was through the middle support column. The walls were too thin to provide any real structural support. Remember, accounting for only two variables is stupid because, and I feel like I've said this before, different does not mean the same. Therefore, I declare this experiment
Wrong.
So that's me and what I think about this guy and his experiments. I'd like to know what you think. And if you like the video, please hit the like button and think about subscribing if you want some more.